Welcome everybody to the first annual Hollywood Foothills Charity Recycling Fun Run. Thanks everybody for showing up today. I hope you guys have a great time. Excuse me everybody, I'll be right back. Go ahead, Brad.
Andrew Stokes, you're not going to believe this. This is an epic occasion. Saban and Lionsgate are releasing a brand new dark and gritty Power Rangers reboot, one we've been waiting for our entire life and podcasting career.
My God.
We must go, and we must do a confirmed epic podcast. In fact, it's such an epic occasion. It is our reason to do the first confirmed epic podcast of 2017 to the Morphing Grid.
I'm on my way. Back to action.
And here we go.
From the Hollywood foothills of North Carolina, welcome to the more phenomenal number 57 episode of the Confirmed Epic Podcast, the official podcast of thepicreview.com, the sister podcast to actionfigurebarbecue.com, the brother-sister podcast to technodrometales.com, Technodrome Tales podcast, which is a 1987 TMNT rewatch podcast, a former sister brother cast of the Collection Agency podcast, also featured on our network, has been the Podcast Confirmed and the Confirmed Crap podcast. You can tell that I'm in a good mood today, ladies and gentlemen, because back with me, back with the real Brad Bell, is the man that had a dream. A dream in 2010 after seeing Super 8. A dream that involved a PC, Audacity, and hours of editing for a show that would never be released. One of the original founders of the Confirmed Epic Podcast and the epicreview.com before it was a public and multi-billion-dollar corporation. Mr. Andrew Stokes, also known as
Andrew Stokes.
Andrew. Welcome back to the show.
Good to be back.
I think it would be messed up of me to say welcome back to the show to you because I got to welcome myself back.
Right.
This is the first confirmed epic podcast we've done since Rogue One. So back in December, Gina and Jerry and I got to sit down and review Rogue One. So that was cool. I've kind of been focusing on other stuff. I've been busy at work. Also, the Technodrome Tales, that TMNT rewatch podcast, which you can find at technodrometales.com if you want to listen to those episodes. Jerry and I have kind of been focused on that, and Jerry's really getting going over there at actionfigurebarbecue.com. He really has quite a following over there. But Andrew Stokes, without further ado, let's get into episode 57 of the Confirmed Epic Podcast.
Check checklist? Check. Double check checking of checklist? Check.
So Andrew Stokes, what have you been checking out? I hear it's a bevy of goodies.
Well, yes, I've been checking out a lot of things, and I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to talk about, so I figured I'd list various things that I've been checking out and let you choose. I've been checking out a lot of current things. Normally, when I've been checking out things, it's like TV shows that are like a decade old or something.
But that means they're actually good.
Sure. There's nothing wrong with that, but I've been checking out some current things. I finally got the board game Scythe, which I'm not sure if you know about, and it's been out for a little while, but it's hard to get, so a lot of people are still like getting it and experiencing it for the first time. I have been playing Horizon Zero Dawn. The PS4 exclusive came out the end of February. I've watched a lot of movies recently, like in the theater. I watched Lego Batman, I watched Logan, I watched Kong Skull Island, Beauty and the Beast, and Get Out, and of course Power Rangers today, but we'll get to that later. I watched Iron Fist. I watched all of that on Netflix. I've been watching the Twitch stream of Power Rangers, their marathon. I didn't watch it too religiously, but I constantly had it in the background through Mighty Morphin and a lot of those other series right after. And I've been reading the Power Rangers comic. I finally got around to reading the Power Rangers comic, and I've made it through the first two volumes of that.
So I get to pick one of those two things,
or whatever you want to talk about. I really don't care.
I would pick Logan, but I actually one day I want to really do a review on that. So
okay.
I'm gonna hold off.
It's awful.
Yeah,
no,
I'm gonna hold off on that. So I'm gonna see. I'm gonna go between Iron Fist and your thoughts on the Kyle Higgins Power Rangers comics. So Let's start with Iron Fist, and
All right.
then we'll go back to the Power Rangers comic to kind of take it full circle. And the reason I want to ask you about it is because you and I were talking about the Netflix Marvel shows before Iron Fist rolled out, which when did it come out? Like 2 weeks ago or something?
1 week ago. It came out last Friday.
So you watched
At
this
the time of this recording.
Yeah, you watched this rather quickly. So I've seen Daredevil.
Yeah.
I saw Jessica Jones.
You seen both seasons of Daredevil?
Yeah, I saw Daredevil season 1 and 2.
Okay.
I didn't watch Luke Cage.
Okay.
Not because I don't like the character. I loved him in New Avengers, but I just hadn't got around to it.
Right.
Iron Fist, I never read the Iron Fist comics. There was a good run when I started reading comics by Matt Fraction, but I never really read it. But I am familiar with the character.
Right.
There's so much content, superhero-wise, to consume, in particular Marvel.
Yeah.
So I was having a conversation with my wife, and I was saying, this stuff is made for me.
Yeah.
People like me to watch. Now, maybe it's made for me 10 years ago when I was in college and had a job working 20, 30 hours a week and not married and have a full-time job now.
Right.
But it's like, if I'm not watching this stuff, who is? And apparently it's you.
It's me, man.
So
a lot of people watch this stuff. There's an older woman at the place I work. I mean, I don't want to give her age away, but she's an older woman. She loves these Marvel series. She's watched all of them. So she was excited that Iron Fist came out.
So Iron Fist, everybody's shitting on it. Is it really that bad?
No. I really genuinely don't understand the critic. I haven't read any reviews or anything, but having watched through it, I don't understand how people like the other ones that don't like this. Like, there's nothing that stands out to me. Like,
It
wow,
matches
this is
tonally, and you can.
I
tell
think
it's
so.
like
Yeah. I mean, I think Luke Cage might have been like the one that kind of stuck out a little bit more for not matching to the other ones. I mean, it seems kind of more like Daredevil-ish to me. It almost feels like if you took Arrow and mixed it with Daredevil, it kind of has that vibe to me.
How familiar are you with like the Danny Rand character in Iron
Not
Fist?
at all. I know who Iron Fist is and Danny Rand, and I've read some comics where he's been a part of it. But I've never read an Iron Fist comic. I'm not that familiar with the character past like that kind of initial information about him.
Well, my thoughts on this is why this has been so poorly received as somebody who hasn't watched it. Is sometimes people kind of predetermine how they're going to feel about something.
Yeah.
It happens.
That's absolutely true.
Geeks do it all the time. I've done it before. And sometimes even the most hardened critics, if something's good enough, like our friend Evan with Guardians of the Galaxy, he went in wanting to hate that movie. But it was so good, he couldn't deny it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of this initial criticism with Iron Fist was it's a kung fu type story.
Yeah.
And it's not an Asian guy. However, Danny Rand's not a Asian character. It's not like they took. There's a character, the master of kung fu. I think his name's Chin Lee. I may be pronouncing that incorrectly, but if they would have took him and made him a white guy, that would have kind of been different. But one of the things that makes the Iron Fist story, I don't know if I want to say stand out, but it makes it feel a little bit different. It's not the fact that he's white or Asian or not Asian or whatever. It's the fact that here's this guy who comes from privilege.
Yeah.
And he has to learn, hey, this isn't everything. Material things, just because
Is that unique? That seems like a trope.
Yeah, probably.
Doctor Strange. That was Doctor Strange.
That's true.
There's a lot of people.
Well,
I feel like.
That seems like that's the Marvel back catalog, but
Sure. I don't know. I mean, I feel like. I don't know. That's kind of what Avatar's about.
Well, do you think
That's
this was?
I don't know. I think it's a trope. I don't think that's unique at all. I don't know. I didn't think the criticisms were like. You sound like you're talking about a more of a PC type thing.
Well, this was a social justice warrior crusade to go after Iron Fist.
Well, I haven't heard anything about that, and I don't think. I hope that's not where the criticism stands from. I've heard people just say it's. I've heard people. A common thing I've heard is it gets good after like episode 3. That's kind of the thing I've heard. I don't necessarily agree with that because I thought it was good from the first episode. It's not very superhero-y sometimes, I guess, but I don't feel like the other ones necessarily were either.
Especially Jessica Jones.
Yeah, I mean the first episode's kind of dealing with more corporate logistics and stuff, I guess. I don't know, but it was interesting to me. So. And I had no predetermined idea about Iron Fist really going into it. So
well, something that mirrored this was Tilda Swinton playing the ancient one. So they took a Asian character and they made it a white woman, which Tilda Swinton did fine in that role. But I see the argument there. That is like the definition of whitewashing.
Sure.
Now I saw the counter argument there as well is, hey, it was a stereotype that was being portrayed in those old Doctor Strange comics, so we didn't want to do that. I'm never going to criticize Marvel for not being progressive enough.
Well, I think it's also partly the third view. If I'm not mistaken, the original character was a Tibetan, and Marvel, they're trying to get that Chinese audience in there, right? So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which that opens brand new. I mean, that's a whole new, multi-million-dollar market for them. Or what? It's the yen I wonder how you say millions of yen. I don't know what.
I think you say millions of yen.
Just say millions of yen. That's it. Okay, well
that's it. That's the name of my new song. Millions of yen.
Yeah, it opens up a multi-million-dollar yen, whatever. Opportunity for them over there overseas, and you've been seeing that in a lot of movies. Recently, but now that you say it is a trope, I mean, it is. I mean, think about Oliver Queen as well. Same thing. Tony Stark, same thing. So
which might be the argument against it, that it's like, oh, a white guy, learns the Asian way and stuff like that. Like, I don't know, but I don't know. I like the story. I thought it was a good season. I'm very interested with where it left off to see what happens in the Defenders, because the Defenders is the next thing coming up. It kind of maybe hints at what they're gonna do in the Defenders. I hope they don't just, because I don't want to say it kind of ends on like a cliffhanger-ish type ending. It's really open ended, and I'm interested to see if that's addressed in Defenders, and it very well may be what Defenders is about. I'm not sure.
Well, let's go from a Marvel show you've been checking out to a Marvel show I've been checking out, which is Legion on FX. Now, every time I talk to you, I tell you how much I love this show, how different this superhero show is than any I've ever seen.
Right.
I mean, I may use the word transcends too much, but I think it really does transcend the superhero genre. I thought something like Logan did that, something like The Dark Knight did, and there's others as well, just those off the top of my head. Maybe you could argue Winter Soldier did, or even Civil War to a lesser extent.
I don't know about that one.
I said to a lesser extent. That's why I added that on there.
I don't think so, Tim.
Okay. But Legion. So those who are not familiar with Legion, in the comics, he's Charles Xavier's son. Mm-hmm. And Xavier gives him up, and turns out he's this super powerful mutant, much like Professor X. He's telekinetic. He's a telepath. Charles isn't telekinetic, right? He's just a telepath.
Right.
Jean is.
Jean is.
So he's definitely on par with more of the Jean Grey, who's even who you love, who's even more powerful than Charles Xavier. But as you're watching this show and you're watching it evolve, and I'm not going to spoil it here because it's just so good, but I would say it's only 8 episodes, and the guy who's the showrunner, I think his name's Noah Hawley. He's the same guy who does Fargo for FX. And they said, how many episodes do you need to tell your story? Because that's what we want. If you need 13, you need 16, that's fine. He's like, I just want to do 8, no filler. Like, fine, you'll do 8. And most of them run about an hour and 10 minutes long, or an hour. So with commercials, it's a solid hour, right? So it's a tight show that never feels like it's meandering. It's always progressing the plot along. That's good. I mean, it's a big budget being on FX. I mean, they've had some of the bigger shows like Justified, American Horror Story, Fargo,
Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah. So if it's coming on FX, they're gonna spend the money. Even like the talent for It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, they have to pay Charlie Day and Danny DeVito. I mean, those are
now.
yeah. But I mean, even Danny DeVito,
he
was a name. I mean,
absolutely,
in the 90s and 80s especially, but it is definitely on par with those upper echelon FX shows, and it doesn't feel like an X-Men show or even a superhero show until like past the halfway point. And then you're like, holy shit, now this is an X-Men show.
Yeah.
But not in like a forced way.
Yeah.
Like the plot progressed there naturally. The acting is top notch. I can't remember the guy who plays Legion, who plays David, but I would have said at the beginning of this show, is there any way you see somebody like Professor X on here?
Yeah.
Hell no. But now that we're getting closer to the end, it hasn't happened, so I'm not spoiling it. But I would say anything and everything is possible. Like, I listened to a podcast I was telling you about called Let's Talk Legion. Great podcast. And they were saying, what would just be the ultimate holy shit moment for you with Legion? And they like to throw out these crazy scenarios like, what would you do if A and B happen? And so they're in like episode 3 or 4. They're like, okay, here it is, season finale. All of a sudden, Legion's sitting in the mental hospital. David is. You see a wheelchair roll up. They pan out. Then you see whoosh, the claws come out, and there's Wolverine. And they were like, oh no, I would love it, but I'd hate it at the same time. And like, that's not going to happen, okay?
Okay.
But I wouldn't be surprised if it did, because every time I think this show's going another way, God, they flip the whole dynamic on its head. It's just, I mean, I have not watched an episode that wouldn't qualify as 5 out of 5 rating.
Wow.
And like, I don't say that about many shows I watch.
Right.
And the thing is, and I agree with you, Evan and I are watching this, friend of the podcast, Evan Truelove, who didn't get to make it to see Power Rangers today. We hate that. But he's on par with me as far as his love for this show. And when I bring it up to you, and I know I'm hyping this so much, but you always say, you're the only one talking about it.
Yeah, as far as my circle goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
You, as far as like internet, you say you run in like the IGN circle?
Sure.
Okay, I'm more of the slash film circle.
I probably run more into I don't know, pop culture, gaming and stuff, like Rooster Teeth and their content.
And Kinda
Funny and stuff like that.
Do you ever listen to the Kinda Funny morning show?
Occasionally. Typically only if there's a topic I'm interested in.
And they've just started putting it out as a podcast like here the past month or so. And rest in peace, Colin Moriarty. We'll miss you. But Colin's last stand. Donate to his $80,000 Patreon campaign right now. But
sure is it a donation?
It's donations.
But is it a donation?
No, you're paying his salary.
Well, I mean, yeah, but like you're buying it essentially.
Yeah,
you're subscribing to it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's a donation.
Yeah, I guess you wouldn't classify that as a donation.
It's no charity fun run recycling event.
But you run in the Kinda Funny circles. I love Kinda Funny, and every other day, every episode that Nick's on, Nick Scarpino, they always, somebody in the chat's like, watch Legion, watch Legion, watch Legion. It's not me, I promise. But, so they're not watching it either, but they're so busy, but people are trying to get them to watch it. My favorite, slash film, they're just goo goo gaga over it, which is not the reason I am, but check this show out. But, okay.
For me, it's one of those, FX is one of those networks that, as a cable cutter, it's harder to watch an FX show until it maybe comes out on some service. Unless I was into it
on Netflix, or
right? Without subscribing to it and purchasing it episode by episode, it's kind of hard for me to get into.
Is that what you? That's what you do with Walking Dead, right?
That's what I used to do. Okay. Actually, it's become a family event, so my family gets together and watches Walking Dead. But I used that and Legend of Korra are two shows that I subscribe to and would watch episode by episode.
Okay, so let's bring this full circle on what we've been checking out. Let's go back to Power Rangers, because you've read the first 2 trades, right?
Right.
Which these are shorter trades. They're like 4 per
first
trade?
Yeah, the first one is issues 0 through 4. So and then the second one is 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Oh, God, that's short.
It is short.
How much were they on Amazon?
Well, the first trade was like $10. The second one, I actually just bought the single issues because it was cheaper to buy them. I'm buying them digitally.
All of them?
Yeah, and it was cheaper to buy the single issues for the second volume than it was to buy the second trade digitally. I don't know. They were. I was thinking about buying some more past that as well, because some of the issues, they come out, they're like $4 I think when they first come out, and then they go down to $2 eventually. So there's a few beyond the second graphic novel that I might check out as well. But
this is my favorite incarnation of the Power Rangers, and that's saying
that's
a
a
lot
bold
considering
statement.
The movie we just watched. Okay, but that's how I feel about it. I want to
Okay.
talk a little bit more about that, but how do you feel about it?
I enjoy it. It definitely. I talked to you a little bit about this earlier, wondering whether this, and maybe not to get into too much spoilers with the comic, but there is some like interdimensional, other universe type stuff going on in it, and I wondered if the comic itself takes place in some slightly alternate universe than
Like
the
an
TV
alternate
show.
timeline or something.
Yeah, because like, well, obviously it is slightly altered. There's obviously modern references. Some of the kids have like cell phones and stuff, and Bulk and Skull are doing like a podcast and stuff like that.
Which we did a podcast reviewing the 0 issue or the
Right.
first issue last year.
But there's also some things, just like the characters act slightly differently sometimes. There's at least one instance of cursing that I saw.
Was it Zach?
It was Jason.
Okay.
Telling one of the villains "hell no" or something like that. And then there's like some like inter-team turmoil, because this takes place right after Tommy joins the team from the Green with
Especially
Evil.
between Zach and Tommy.
Right, and it's almost like there's definitely a couple scenes where it almost reminds me of the old Power Ranger shows, how they would act when Rita was controlling one of their minds, and they'd act really snappy, and the other Rangers would be like, "Oh, what's wrong with Trini? What's wrong with Billy?" Because Billy always got mind warped. And so it kind of reminds me of that, except for Rita's not controlling their minds. They're just really testy with each other sometimes, and that's a little weird. But overall, I enjoy it. They do some things in the comic that they couldn't do with the show. They play up the fact that putty patrollers are made of putty. You know what I mean? And they play with that sometimes. Like Rita's melted them down on occasion. It is kind of slow though. Like I guess I'm used to graphic novels where I'm reading a graphic novel and it's 5-6 issues and it's a story arc, and then the next graphic novel's the next story arc. I'm 2 graphic novels in.
Like episodic, like more sprawling.
Well, no, it's serial. It's more serial. It's the opposite of episodic. Like I'm two volumes in, and it's still like the same story thread, and it really
it becomes episodic though. Like the stories
Okay.
are longer than they would be in like Ultimate Spider-Man. Like a story would be complete in a trade,
Right.
which is it's weird how I don't know if it's necessarily weird how they did the comic. It's weird how they set up the trade. It's one of the few comics that probably, from what I'm hearing, doesn't read better in trade than it does single issue.
This first story arc's still ongoing.
There's only been, I think it's on issue 15 or 16.
Right.
And the last one you read was 8.
Yeah.
And there's only been 2 arcs.
Okay.
So there's 2 episodic arcs. They're starting the 3rd arc, and I hadn't started it yet myself, but so I
Okay.
get my comics at the end of the month. As far as the timeline, I was reading something with Kyle Higgins, who writes the book. Apparently, everything that happened in the show through Green with Evil happened.
Right.
And this picks up.
Right.
And it will after that. And it would be interesting to see. I would bet money that they go back and retell Green with Evil in a 5-part miniseries. And you know that's going to be different.
Yeah.
Which would be cool. I like the new take on it.
I mean, there's some, like I said, there's also some little differences where, you know, everything from the first episode up till that could very well have happened, but like,
did it happen the same way?
or just like Rita's sitting on Zed's throne in like a lot of shots.
Oh God! Wait till you get to you're with the time and
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Which
the
I-
placement of objects
yeah.
and Zords. You're gonna be like
This isn't-
WTF.
it's not a criticism of it. It's just something I've noticed. And like Goldar holds onto his wings longer than, you know, the other show.
Have you read any of the? Were any of the? I guess not, because that'd be after 12 issue. There wasn't an annual or anything in there, right?
I think there is an annual for this.
Was there the Goldar annual in there?
Oh no! I'm sorry. I just said I meant that an annual exists. I haven't
yeah,
read
it
the
does,
annual.
and it's a great story.
Is it?
It's really good.
I want to read
it's
that.
A Goldar story.
Have you read Pink, the Pink miniseries?
I've read the first 4. Is it 5 or 6 parts?
I think it's 5 or 6.
I
It's
read
5 or 6,
3
I
or
don't know.
4, and it's good. I just never finished it. The issues, I bought them individually, but I
Yeah.
didn't put it on my subscription list. They were really hard to find.
Okay.
So and now,
really? Well,
and now there's some.
Which ones are you missing?
I've got 1, 2, and 3. I think it's 5. I think I'm missing 4 and 5.
I think
4 was sold out.
Okay.
Everywhere I looked, and they had 5, but I didn't want to buy 5 without buying 4.
Right.
It was
I
one
think
of
I
those.
saw it recently. They had a fair amount of copies of different issues. I don't know specifically which ones at the local comic book store in Shelby. Which I want to talk about checking out. I want to give a shout out to this new store. So, of course, we all live in various areas around the foothills in North Carolina. I live in the town of Shelby, and there's a new store there. It's been open for a little while now, months now, called the Imperial Emporium in Uptown Shelby. It's a comic book store / gaming store. And that's a place I've been checking out because I'm there at least once a weekend playing games and that kind of stuff. So if you're I know we have local listeners and stuff. If you're looking for a place like that to get into board games or pick up comics, super friendly place, super great atmosphere. Like, it's definitely a place where
it even smells good. It doesn't even have terrible BO most of the time.
That's only when you sit close to people.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, everybody seems to shower for the most part. That's nice.
Okay, Andrew, let's go ahead and get into our epic news portion of the show. Start this out flying solo, which I'm not doing today. Let's talk about Han Solo.
All right.
So the Han Solo movie is coming out the May after Episode 8. So Episode 8 comes out this year, 2017. Right. So it's supposed to be Memorial Day weekend, 2018.
Yeah.
I almost bet anything it would be pushed back to around Christmas 2018. But we'll see. We'll see. Starring Donald Glover as Lando Calrissian, probably most notable. I can name
Woody
him.
Harrelson's in it.
Yeah, Woody Harrelson's in it. I can't remember the guy who's playing Han Solo. It's the dude from that last Coen Brothers movie. I can't even remember the name of it. But anyway,
the Caesar one.
Yeah. Hell Caesar. That's it. Thank you. So.
You're welcome.
Han Solo may not be Han Solo.
Plot twist.
Here's what I mean by that. We have assumed, like many other Star Wars fans before us since 1977, that Han Solo's name was Han Solo. But apparently that is a name he garnered, I guess, through reputation or some certain story or whatnot. And we're going to hear the origin of Han Solo's name in Han Solo.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Don't give a shit. Like, it's just
same here.
This is the problem with the Disney plan for most movies. Rogue One is not necessarily a story we needed, but it's a story. Okay, cool, interesting. Let's hear about it. But then, like, what they're doing, a Han Solo film, a Boba Fett film,
maybe Boba Fett,
Obi-Wan film. Like, these are rumors, I guess.
Yoda.
And it's like, who cares? Like, do we need... I
want a Boba Fett film.
Boba Fett could be cool if it's not just some weird origin thing. If it's just a film
we've
about...
had his origin.
Exactly.
Oh.
Han Solo, it's like, I don't care. Like, one... I don't know. It's just so... I mean, my mantra for all movies has always been, I don't care what it's about as long as it's a good movie. So if they make a great Han Solo film, I'll be very happy. But I don't care. Like nothing. Like it.
Some of the best EU books were the Han Solo. I hate to say solo books, but the Han Solo books.
Right.
So I mean, I know there's good stories and good territory to be mined there, but
it's just a lot of these movies ask the question, like, especially like these prequel type movies, like, have you always wondered where Han Solo how he got the Millennium Falcon and how he met Chewie and this, that? It's like, no, I haven't.
He lost it in a card game to Lando Calrissian. That's enough for me, right there.
Exactly. Like, we know enough about Han Solo. It's kind of like the Michael Myers, the Halloween reboot, the Rob Zombie one. It's like where we got to know Michael Myers a lot more, and it's like we already knew enough about him. Like, we didn't need to know anything about him. That's why he's called, like, the Shape or the Mask or whatever. It's like he Michael Myers was better not knowing too much about him without humanizing him. And it's like Han Solo, like, we already knew what we needed to know about him, even if they try to edit out him being a killer of Greedo and stuff like that.
Do I care? Yes, it's Star Wars, so I care.
Sure, I'm interested.
Am I going to go see it? Absolutely. Probably opening weekend.
Yeah,
but at the same time, I'm like you. Have a reason for the movie.
Sure. Again, if it comes out and it's great, then wonderful. I'm always up for another great movie. But it's just, news like that is like, oh, learn how Han Solo got his name.
Say what you want to about the prequels, but before they were out, people wanted to see that story.
Absolutely. I still want to see that story.
Whereas I don't know if, yeah, me too. I don't know if people necessarily want to see this story. Obviously, they inevitably will.
It just seems more unnecessary.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, the Skywalkers are the cornerstone of the whole Star Wars universe.
It's one of the things, like, people talk about how deep the Star Wars universe is. And some people more recently have been criticizing that maybe the Star Wars universe isn't that deep. Because everything we get with Star Wars, at least mainstream things, is the same people doing some of the same things.
It is deep. It's not deep now. Here's what I mean by that statement. The new books, which I've read two. I've read Lords of the Sith, and I read the New Dawn, which was the Rebels one, which was the very first one. I've read the entire run of Darth Vader, which that was...
The comic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was absolutely epic. I've read every issue of Star Wars, the comic.
Okay.
So, I've read more than you, but not as much as Jerry, who's read everything, right? And what I've found with the books is, compared to the EU books, which I've read 4 EU books, the Darth Bane trilogy, Darth Plagueis, and I'm actually went back and I'm reading the Thrawn novels. Okay. So I'm on the first book, I'm like 50 pages in, Heir to the Empire.
Yeah.
But the new books don't feel consequential, because if it's anything that consequential, it's either going to be in a movie, a TV show, or probably a comic.
Right.
Before it's going to be in a novel, because people are, just because of the time it takes, people are less likely to consume that content than in another form.
Right.
So when I was, for example, I started reading Tarkin. I don't know if I borrowed it from Jerry or I read an excerpt on the internet, and I was like bored to tears. Why did I love Tarkin? You know, he's great, but why did I need to read a 400-page book about him that, if it was something that necessary, they would have brought him back to life and put him in another movie like they did in Rogue One. So,
well, see, that's the type of movies I like to see. Like, I like to see, instead of like the Han Solo origin film, I'd like to see something like a completely other area of space or different time in the Star Wars saga.
Well, think about the Old Republic. We haven't seen any like movies or TV shows.
Yeah.
From that era.
Yeah.
Like, I would be so much more excited if they were making a Darth Bane trilogy or a Darth Plagueis, something. Not just because I read those, but because we never really touched that time period in the Star Wars mythos. So
the problem is it's not marketable, I guess, because people know who Han Solo is and this and the other thing.
Is that going to be a problem with this? Is it always going to have to be one of those name brand original trilogy characters?
It sounds like it. We're gonna get Princess Leia growing up on Alderaan. So.
Yeah, we don't need that. But let's bring in another news story that we said we weren't gonna bring up. Marvel Generations.
All right.
Because I think you're gonna have an interesting take. Over the past couple, I'll say 2.5 years, Marvel has pushed a lot of more progressive legacy type characters. They have a Muslim Miss Marvel, who's great, Kamala Khan. They have Jane Foster's Thor, Miles Morales Spider-Man, who Peter Parker's still around, but you know, with the Odin son, he's been gone for a while. He's come back. Let's see,
Captain America.
Yeah, Captain America's still Steve, but brainwashed Hydra Steve. But you have Sam
Falcon.
Wilson, the Falcon Cap, and let's see, there's one other one.
Iron Man.
Yeah, Riri Williams. Tony. He's not around anymore after Civil War II. So let's just say that he's around, but he's not around. I don't want to spoil that book, which everybody shit on. I just read it. It was actually pretty good. But Generation. So I guess this is coming out in July. The way I understand it, it's not a series. It's kind of like going to be some, I won't say one-shots because it's never that way with Marvel, but smaller stories.
Right.
For each of these characters with their... Oh, yeah, don't forget X-23 has been in there for Wolverine. And Old Man Logan is Wolverine. Original Wolverine's dead.
Right.
So we'll see what happens with that. And I don't understand the messaging of this, because Marvel has kind of... It looks like they're changing after this whole Secret Empire thing. It looks like we're going to have a more kind of like a DC Rebirth type, to where it's more traditional. The heroes, are going to be our heroes. They're going to be fighting villains, not one another. And I just don't really understand how Generations fits into that. Or are we going back to a status quo, or is it a way to keep kind of both around? I'm assuming they're going to keep both around, but
Right.
Your thoughts on this, because you have thoughts on it.
Well, the first thing to note, I guess, is that this isn't for me, because I don't really like comics in general. I don't, really...
You don't like comics.
I really don't. I've gotten to the point where I really do not like comics in general.
That's sad. That breaks
It
my
is
heart.
what it is.
Yeah, Siri's not even sure what you said back there. She's
Yeah,
so distraught.
she is. It's whatever. Especially just, I don't know. I guess I could say especially mainstream comics, because it's just every year there's a big event and this person dies and this person comes back.
Which DC's got away from that, and
Right.
Marvel says they are. We'll see. I don't believe it.
So, it's just not geared for me, I guess. But I don't know. I was reading an article about this, and the editor of Marvel, or editor-in-chief, or if there's
Axel
a difference,
Alonso.
he said something like, we have this really genius way. Like, some of these characters, obviously, like you said, Wolverine, are deceased. And it's like, we have a really genius way of bringing some of these deceased characters back. And it's just like, that was such a silly thing to say to me, in my opinion, because it's like, it's comic books. Like, Human Torch came back because they met Jack Kirby or something, right? Something like that. Or they met the writer or something. I don't know. They've had all these heroes come back in various ways,
I'm glad
ranging
you
from
mentioned
interesting
that.
to stupid. And it's like, who?
They're not bringing Fantastic Four back.
Oh yeah, they're not.
They're still not. Now, X-Men, they are.
Yeah.
The X-Men, at the end of this month, there's something called Resurrection. It's a one-shot.
Yeah.
And we're getting back to traditional X-Men team storytelling. And then next month, like, all the big X books are coming back. We're having an X-Men Blue, X-Men Gold. You're getting a Cable book. You're getting a Jean Grey book.
Jean Grey?
Jean Grey is getting her own book. You're going to get a new Astonishing X-Men. I don't know about a new Uncanny. You're getting a... Wolverine's kind of still staying the same, but it's interesting that even though Fox has, Wolverine and the X-Men,
Right.
and they just had a very successful film in Logan,
Yeah.
Marvel's pushing their characters in the comics,
Yeah.
but still not pushing Band 4,
Yeah.
which I know don't make them as much money as the X-Men, but they're like, they are the first family of Marvel.
Yeah, not anymore, apparently.
No, right now the first family is the Avengers, because that's who rolls in the money. But let's go from one superhero company to another. Let's move to DC for our last bit of epic news, and that is the first trailer. We've had a sizzle reel from Comic-Con,
Right.
but the first official trailer for Zack Snyder's Justice League film out this November.
Yeah! We have to be ready. You, me, the others. There's an attack coming from far away.
Not coming, Bruce. It's already here. The others. Where are they?
Arthur Curry, the Aquaman. It's on him.
Organic and biomechatronic body parts. He's a cyborg.
You should probably move. Barry Allen.
Whoever you're looking for, it's not me. You're the Batman?
They said the age of heroes would never come again.
It has to.
What are your superpowers again?
I'm rich.
One thing I can tell you is you got to be free.
My turn.
Come together. Right now. Come together. Right now.
Shall we?
It's good to see you playing well with others again. Just like a bat. I dig it.
Maybe temporary.
Oh my God! Wow! That just happened, Andrew Stokes.
Yep.
Our first, well, I won't say our first look, because like I said, we had that San Diego Comic-Con sizzle reel.
Yeah.
But your thoughts on this?
Looked good.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't like the sizzle reel from
It was
Comic-Con.
a lot of the same footage, though, especially the Flash stuff.
It was a lot less talking to each other. The Flash footage, yeah, was the same. But I feel like the Comic-Con footage from what I remember was a lot of like talking, like, oh, we got to get together, we got to do this. This was a little bit more action-y and just, I don't know, looked a little bit better. I don't know. It's a little more exciting.
So, three things.
Okay.
One, all DC trailers look good.
That
is an accurate statement, even if the movies blow.
Yeah.
Two, no Superman, which he's supposedly dead, but we know he's...
Spoilers!
We know he's not going to be dead.
Of course not.
Three, Aquaman looks like he's going to be a more badass version of... He almost reminds me in this trailer of a mix of Tony Stark, Drax,
okay,
and Aquaman. Like that's
okay.
what it reminds me of. Like it's.
I'm not sure I see the Iron Man. I see the Drax.
He's got some wit though. He's got some wit. Not the sharp, downy Stark.
He's got
wit,
some humor. I don't know if he's got some wit.
Well, I know what he reminds me of.
Okay.
Logan.
Yeah.
A lot of bit of Wolverine from the first two X-Men. So substitute that downy Iron Man for Jackman Logan. Jackman
Maybe even
Wolverine.
a little Hulk or something in there too.
Yeah, just with his brute strength. But
Right.
I think we're gonna walk away from this movie. You know how kind of at the end of Avengers, everybody's like, we have a Hulk, and holy shit, the Hulk at the end of the Avengers kind of stole the show, right?
Yeah.
And it was just phenomenal. The best on-screen scenes we have of the Hulk, I think, still to this day.
Yeah.
Aquaman was the show stealer here to me. He is what I think, not only did I take away from this trailer wanting to see more of, but I expect to leave the Justice League film saying, I want to see more of Jason Momoa Aquaman, which is not what I thought. This is a pleasant surprise because I thought he would just be some brute strength, mindless kind of buff guy.
Yeah.
Kind of, I don't know, not asserting his dominance or will over the people, but kind of just being a prick, right?
Right.
And which I know we're going to get some of that, but I think also leaving BVS, who do you remember the most? Probably Wonder Woman, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And I think we'll have something similar here. Outside of Aquaman and the beautiful shots with, Batman, Ben Affleck tracking down all these people
right.
in these various locations. But outside of Aquaman and just the shot locations, I don't walk away from this trailer any more or less excited than I was going in because I just can't let a DC trailer do that to me again. You see where I'm at, Andrew?
Sure, no, absolutely.
But, I'll be there. It's
Yeah.
Justice League. I think it's something that a lot of comic book fans have been waiting their whole life to see on the big screen.
And this is why they keep making the movies.
Exactly.
We're going to show up anyway, regardless of whether we believe it's going to be good or not.
Speaking of showing up regardless of whether we believe it's going to be good or not and waiting our whole life for something, let's go ahead and get into our featured review of episode 57 of the Confirmed Epic Podcast. That is Dean Israelites, Lionsgate, Saban Productions.
Krispy Kremes.
Krispy Kreme presented Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
None of us really know each other.
We're all screw-ups.
But somehow, we were all in the same place at the same time when Billy found those coins. Guys, check out how we glow.
I'm blue.
Oh, I'm black.
What?
I am.
No, you're not.
Oh.
Do you feel weird?
We're strong.
Insanely strong.
The answer to what is happening to you is here.
You five are the Power Rangers.
Did I just hear you say we're Power Rangers?
Is this some kind of joke? We're talking to a wall.
I was kind of expecting a little more.
So were we, Alpha.
Yeah, we'll get there in a minute. But Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is not the name of this movie. I stand corrected. It is simply just
Saban's Power Rangers.
Yes, Saban's Power Rangers. So,
or it should be named Krispy Kreme's Power Rangers.
Probably.
That's what it should be called.
We'll get into that here in a second. I just have a few opening things here. This is directed by, again, Dean Israelite. The only other movie of note he's directed was Project Almanac. Did you see that? I did.
That's the shaky cam.
Yeah.
Movie. Yeah, I saw that.
Was it any good?
See, that's the thing. I actually think it would have been a lot better if it wasn't shaky cam. I actually liked the idea, and I kind of liked. I liked the movie in general, but the shaky cam really kind of messed things up. One, because it didn't need to be shaky cam, and if I remember correctly, it didn't make sense in some of the scenes. And two, the kids were definitely trying to act natural instead of just act. And I think it would have been better if they were just acting, if it was just a traditionally shot movie. But overall, yeah, I kind of like Project Almanac.
I'll take your word for it because I hadn't seen it. Let's see, this came out March 23rd, 2017. Currently stands at 47% on the tomato meter. Andrew, it's no secret if you've been listening to this episode, if you ever listened to this podcast when you and I have been on it, we are big Power Rangers fans. It's
yes, we are.
That comes up from time to time. Just your overall thoughts on the franchise, especially since you kind of revisited it on the Twitch stream this week, watching some older episodes. Like, as far as kind of where this ranks as geek properties and things in your life, where is it?
In my life, it's one of the top ones. Like, it's just, I don't know. I love Power Rangers. I loved it as a kid. I still love it now. It's just something about this team. I've always liked, as far as aesthetically, something that I've always liked about team aesthetics is when a group has like basically the same uniform, but they all have it like slightly unique.
Like the helmets here.
Right, the helmets in their own colors and stuff. And so the Ninja Turtles, they all look the same, but they have different color headbands and different weapons.
Except in kind of the movies and stuff, they look slightly different.
Yeah, the movies is a whole different thing.
And the new cartoons as well. But this isn't TMNT. So.
Right, so, I mean, just from aesthetically, and I mean, I don't know, the show is so simple, but it was just, like, I don't know, I love it. It's like, it's cheesy fun, I don't know.
Well, I mean, we're that age. We're 30, so we were young.
What? I'm not.
Yeah, we were young when this show hit its prime.
Yeah.
We were the target audience. We were the ones that wanted all the toys, which made it rather difficult on our parents sometimes in pre-internet buying days. Because this, I read an article one time that in 1993, when Power Rangers came out, they grossed almost $1 billion in toy sales worldwide. Crazy. And compared to all of TMNT, its entire lifespan of toys, talking about the original series, it made $800 million in worldwide sales. In 1 year, 93, Power Rangers reached $1 billion.
I remember my parents being on like wait lists on multiple stores for these like figures and such.
And the second year it came out, because it was a big problem that first year. They didn't realize the hit they had on their hands.
No, they didn't. No.
And it still made a ton of money. So I was reading an article where they opened up 10 new factories just to make Power Ranger toys. And the profit off of the 1994 Power Rangers toys was $1.6 billion worldwide.
That's crazy.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
Which this show costs nothing to make because they're recycling a lot of footage.
You can't tell.
They're paying the actors hardly anything, and here it's just this marketing juggernaut. And like you, I remember two things in particular. One time, we went to Walmart, and they had just gotten a fresh stock in. They were like on the end cap, the Triangle Box Rangers, which I still have back there, not in the box. And I'll never forget this. A lady just taking her arm and raking all of them in her buggy. And by the time we got there, they were like a yellow and pink Ranger, and that was about it.
I don't even understand, like, back in those days, like, where you'd even sell some of that stuff, you know?
Well,
like,
that's what I was going to get to.
Yeah.
I remember going to Walmart another time, and there would be signs taped outside of Walmart, which you could never get away with this today. This is 93.
Yeah.
Call this number for Power Ranger
That's
toys.
insane. That's some Jingle All the Way level
And that's
stuff,
what
man.
inspired the Jingle All the Way movie.
Yeah.
Is, things like the Power Rangers and and TMNT toy lines to a lesser extent TMNT.
That's crazy.
But I mean, TMNT toy line was huge.
Yeah.
But compared to Power Rangers, it was minuscule. But yeah, the toys, the franchise, it has stuck with me. I don't know. I've never really lost my love for Tommy Oliver, the Green Ranger. I've always had that mini series just
shit.
That mini series just kind of
Green with evil, man.
Yeah, stands alone.
Crashed the Twitch stream like a couple times.
Apparently, my iPhone also responds to when we said I thought we were saying Siri. But you can tell our love for Power Rangers. We're gushing here, but let's talk about what we were expecting going in when we watched these trailers and we first began to talk about it. I think initially I was a little bit more excited than you.
Yeah.
And then you seemed to get a little more hyped as we got closer to it. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so I've kind of described, especially that that first trailer where we really see the suits, we see Alpha in motion for the first time, we see Goldar. I remember...
We see a big block of gold.
I don't want to use the word horrified when I watched that trailer, but it was like super... I was disappointed. You know what I mean? Like I watched it and I was hoping like this is gonna be like cool or whatever, and I watched it and I was just disappointed that it was exactly what I thought they were gonna do. But then I watched the trailer a couple more times because I made other people watch this trailer, and every time I watched the trailer, I would notice something like, that was kind of funny, or that scene's kind of cool. And I described, I think, what I was suffering from the first time I watched the trailer was pop culture shock. In that I know what Power Rangers is in my head. I know what it's supposed to be and all this kind of stuff. And seeing this other take, seeing Goldar being this generic CGI monster and stuff, was just like super disappointing. But, I eventually got over it. I've said in the past, I don't really care. When people take properties and want to adapt it to something else, if they want to make it their own, I'm fine with that. And so I tried to kind of let go of my expectations a little bit of what I thought Power Rangers should be. And the trailer kind of looked fun. And I saw like really quick TV spots or internet, like, GIFs or something, and it's like, okay, it's Power Rangers fighting monsters. Like, this could be pretty cool.
Like that second one where they were fighting the putties.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so, and that showed the Zords.
Yeah.
I was, like I said, more initially excited. Here's why I was excited. Not necessarily from what I saw, but from the fact that somebody was taking this property that I love so much seriously.
Yeah.
We've seen the Transformers reboots, and we talk about how people's childhoods had been ruined because they love Transformers so much. We're a little bit older than that Transformers, younger than that Transformers generation, rather. But Transformers, say what you want to about it, it's been a blockbuster success.
Yes.
I mean, they've raked in the cash, which is why they keep making them, and at least this made Transformers have longevity and remain relevant, right?
Yeah, right.
And if anything else, I thought at worst, this could do that to the Power Rangers. At best, who knows?
Right.
You heard Bryan Cranston say things like, when I read the script, it reminded me of the Power Rangers version of The Dark Knight. I mean, could you say anything else to get me more excited? Probably not. Probably not. So,
he said that?
Yeah, that's what he said. Huh. So he must have been talking about just the opening scene of the movie.
He must have read like the script before it went through rewrites or something. I don't know.
I don't even know if I want to say here that we're going to even do a spoiler section, because I just want to talk fast and loose about this movie. So
you say it's all spoilers?
It's all spoilers.
Oh, okay, all spoilers.
Open it up to all spoilers. So
Sauron's ahead.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So if you haven't seen Power Rangers, tune out now, which I don't know why you.
Wait, do you want to tell your general impression though first before we get into spoilers?
I gotta get straight into spoilers.
All right.
Okay, I'm sitting there.
Okay. I can contest.
My mind was just a clean slate.
All right.
All right, let's give this a chance.
Yeah.
All the modern reboots of things that I'd liked, Spider-Man, the Garfield ones, they sucked. Let's be honest.
Okay.
Looking back on them, they sucked. Despite anything I said on this podcast, the last two TMNT movies, they sucked.
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, I hope they get this right. I don't know if I can take another letdown. Batman versus Superman, it sucked. It's like, how many more blockbuster letdowns of things that I absolutely love can I endure?
Oh, buckle in, buckaroo.
Apparently one more. But I'm sitting there, and then all of a sudden, this opening scene hits.
Yeah.
And it was in an era where the dinosaurs walked the earth. I thought that was like the Paleolithic era, but it was
some right.
They called it something else. Not that I'm a science person. I'm definitely not.
You can't tell.
But the opening scene, and we're gonna set the movie up more. But I got to talk about this scene. I think this is the most epic, the best scene of the entire film.
It was really cool.
And you know what it reminded me of? Just the visuals.
Prometheus.
Kinda. I can see that in a way, just the texture of the ground and stuff.
Yeah.
No, it reminded me of that one dark and gritty trailer we saw, that rated R trailer that a guy made a couple years ago.
Right, the one with James Vanderbeek in it.
Yeah, just kind of the tone of it, like.
I don't know if it reminded me of that, but
not the tone, maybe the visual aesthetic.
Sure.
And it was like, wow, they're taking this seriously. They spent a lot of money on this.
Yeah.
They are using classic references but making it their own.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Such as the Zeo crystal.
Yeah.
Right?
Zeo crystal's in there, and Zeo crystal's it's a slightly different, but it's essentially the Zeo crystal.
It's the Zeo crystal, and which will be kind of the main goal of Rita in the past, in this scene, and in the present, to control this Zeo crystal and use it to destroy the she can destroy worlds and make worlds, is what Zordon says in the film. And you see a beat down Red Ranger.
Yeah.
Which is Zordon.
Yeah.
Which is something I'd heard may be the case.
Oh, okay.
But didn't know if that was just rumor.
I had no idea.
I didn't read any spoilers. And, boy, things have just gone to hell in a handbasket. I mean, he's getting his ass kicked, you can tell. And all of a sudden walks up the Green Ranger.
I was saying the Yellow Ranger dies.
Yeah, who apparently seemed like a love interest.
Maybe.
And then Green Ranger walks up. But it's not Green Ranger.
Nope.
It's Rita.
It's Rita.
And basically, we have him bearing the coins, setting them up for a future generation. They kind of have a clash, and they kind of both get put away for a while. Let's just say that, right?
Okay.
And it's like Power Rangers.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, this may actually be really good.
Yeah.
Like, if the whole movie was this,
yeah,
like you may have been, carrying me home. Like if it was that good, because I mean, I cannot even. I would watch that opening scene 30 times.
Yeah.
I wish there were more of it. I don't want it to be as drawn out as like the Man of Steel opening scene was.
Right.
But I could have stood 5 more minutes of that.
I've always liked the idea, and they talk about it all the time in Power Rangers, and they rarely ever show it. They've always talked about Rangers of the past.
Yeah.
That the Mighty Morphin Rangers weren't the first Rangers. And so I've always been interested to learn more about older Rangers that may have been on Earth. And so it was cool when they opened with this, like, oh, wow, this is really old, and there's Power Rangers here on Earth. Like, it was just neat.
And then we knew it was coming. We do the time jump. And we're back in Angel Grove, which it looks more like Seattle, Washington than it does, or the outskirts of Washington than it does L.A. or Angel Grove,
right,
California.
So it's a small, like, fishing town.
If this is California, this is like Northern California.
Yeah,
definitely not Southern California.
Right.
And basically you have the origin story of the Power Rangers begin to take shape. We kind of go around, we see all the different Rangers. So
I just want to say, immediately, we're basically taking from that scene to a scene that does not give me confidence that we're watching a good film.
Go ahead and tell the joke that they
Well, there's the bull joke where the guy said he milked the cow, and it's like, it's not a cow, it's a bull, and they show the bull's penis, and it's just like, it goes on. It's a crazy joke to begin with, and it goes on slightly too long. But then just the whole chase scene afterwards and stuff, it was just like not exciting and pretty lame. And it was just like almost like the opposite, where I'm like, oh God, I hope this is not what we're getting. It was very we're not fans of Transformers films, and it felt Transformer-ish to me. Like, I don't know.
It didn't really. It was jarring to go from that to this.
Yeah.
And if it would have opened with this, it would have been like, Well, that would have been shitty, but I would have been like, okay, this is what I was expecting.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so I was expecting an to a good movie.
Right.
And I heard this is better than you think, but still had my expectations reasonable.
I've heard that it's fun.
The opening scene raised my expectations at the last second. I'm like, okay, we may see something good here, as I've already stated. But
that opening scene was kind of from that opening scene on, though. I thought it kind of got interesting. It was just that one opening scene, like, you know, after the cool scene, it was just that the scene with Jason and the car chase just seemed kind of silly and just not interesting. Like, I don't know.
The setup was good until it went on an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
That was the big problem with this movie. I hate to start with a massive negative mammoth in the room. Mastodon in the room, if you will. But this...
I will not.
This went on them learning how to use their powers, them finding each other, them finding Zordon, all the stuff that we expected. It's an origin story, right? They were in their suits probably an hour and 20 minutes in, if not an hour and 30 minutes into this 2-hour film.
Yeah.
And it got to the point to where it just, God, it dragged. Right when you thought it was about to get good, it would pull back.
Yeah.
And that frustrated.
It just went on a little bit too long. I think for the most part, I liked it. They were kind of holding off on it. And like they kind of introduced the Zords before you actually get to use the Zords. I thought it was all kind of interesting. But it just went on slightly too long. There's the scene where they're sitting around the campfire talking.
And they're trying to all get to know each other.
Yeah, and that I like. But then Trini said a line that I wish would have been a thread that they would have saved for a sequel. She says something like, are we friends or are we Power Rangers? Or are we Power Rangers or are we friends?
That does seem like a sequel, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's like, oh, that's an interesting idea. I don't want you guys to talk about it now. Like, you know what I mean? You guys aren't even really Power Rangers right now, let alone friends. You know what I mean? And... You know, and then the whole thing, again, we're in spoilers here, the whole thing with Billy dying was just stupid.
Okay, I agree, but let's pull back just a little bit.
Okay, all right.
Look, so they're sitting around the campfire, they're trying to get to know each other, so let's talk about what we thought about them. Because we didn't get, there's one thing that this movie did well, and you can disagree with me, but I think it was great at character development. A little too great.
For certain characters.
Okay.
Like, there are certain characters like Trini where it's like, oh, like, she's just doesn't get along with people. How interesting. You know what I mean? Like, there were certain characters like Billy who was like, oh, Billy's a really cool, interesting character.
He was a great character.
And Trini was just moody.
R.J. Seiler played Billy Cranston in this movie. I'm pulling up the IMDb page here. He was the standout of this movie.
Probably, yeah.
He reminded me of a lot. I know he's supposed to kind of have, like, Asperger's. But reminded me of Danny Pudding in Community.
Yeah,
some of his mannerisms and how he would act. But he was just, his performance was genuine, I felt like.
Yeah.
Like, nothing felt, I felt, it was so believable. And he was such a likable character. And so they kind of pushed a little bit to where he got borderline annoying.
Yeah.
But I don't think it ever crossed that threshold. And see, he's kind of the one who brings everybody together, right?
Yeah.
So if we're seeing the movie through one character's eyes, it's Billy.
Yeah.
I would say. And he's the catalyst for the group getting together because you have Jason played by Darce, I guess is how you pronounce it, Darcy or Decree Montgomery, Jason Scott. So he's a football player. He got injured. He got in a wreck or he got injured playing football. Who knows?
Yeah.
But he's under house arrest, and him and Billy come together, you know, because he wants the ankle bracelet that they use for house arrest off of him.
Right, Billy wants him to drive him around.
Yeah, so Billy,
yeah,
we're in agreement, right?
Yeah, like Billy.
Okay, so let's go through these kind of one at a time as we encounter them. Jason. So what are your thoughts on Jason and Montgomery's performance here?
I liked Jason, I guess. It is a little confusing what's going on with him. Why is he a problem child?
Did you get kind of a Chris Pine vibe from this actor? He kind of reminded me a little bit of Chris Pine.
Kind of, sort of. Yeah, I can see that. I just don't understand. if he got injured playing football and that put his future in jeopardy and that's why he's acting out, I kind of like that. But I don't think that's something that somebody brought up to me after the movie. I didn't get that during the film. He just seems like he's a troublemaker for reasons I don't understand. You know what I mean? And it's like, you seem like you have a pretty good life, and you're just mad at what exactly? Like,
he blew his whole future somehow, either in the wreck or either with an injury.
Or, yeah, by doing that prank at the beginning. Is that how he did? Like, I don't know. Him, in the very opening scene, again, back to that, where he's running away from the police. Like, if the opening scene was him, like, darting around the halls of the high school trying to hide, interesting, but he went on a high-speed car chase.
Yeah.
For the police, it's like, who is this kid? You know what I mean? Like, this is a real problem.
They definitely wanted to establish them all as teenagers with attitude. With the exception of Billy, which, I mean,
sure,
that's how Billy's supposed to be.
Right.
So, I thought he was a good Red Ranger.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit better Red Ranger than he was as Jason, just because and I'm not saying Jason in comparison to Austin St. John's Jason. I'm just saying the Jason side of things didn't feel fleshed out. It felt incomplete. I agree. Let's talk about Trini.
Okay.
Simply listed as Becky G.
Yeah.
Obviously, these are all relatively new names, the people that played the Rangers. Seems like you had a problem with her.
I just don't... I don't think she was very well fleshed out. It just seemed like I guess she moved around a lot, and that was hard on her. And I understand, especially being a teenager, not being able to get attached with people and stuff.
And she was gay, too. It
was heavily implied that she was gay. But, like, I don't know, she just seemed like a moody teen. Like, I didn't really get... there was a point in the movie where I'm like, all right, like, just... like, act nice.
Out of all the Rangers, she's the one who felt the least like her original counterpart.
That's insane. And I was disappointed because Trini was always interesting because Trini, and she's smart like Billy. That's never really played up. She does martial arts like Zach and Tommy and Jason. That's never really played up. You know what I mean? She's nice. She's a good friend. You know what I mean? And I really feel like in the original show, she didn't really get her moment really.
Yeah.
And in this, it's like... I don't, they're all slightly changed and a little different, but she just feels like the changes were disappointing.
It was dramatic. It was just such
melodramatic,
a change. Okay, speaking of a change, let's talk about, Luddy Lim plays Zach, the Black Ranger.
Yeah.
Now, I think some personality traits, nobody is Walter Jones. I think he's a dynamic personality.
Yeah.
And he stole the show a lot of times, maybe too much. On the original Power Rangers show, maybe he chewed the scenery a bit, but this guy kind of has that not out of control, but brash, take risks. Like he goes and
just does what he wants. Yeah, chaotic.
Gets the mastodon.
Yeah.
Out and just rides it around.
Yeah.
So I like that scene. We could talk more about that later, but
I think I like that because his character was kind of interesting. He also wasn't too well developed, but he was taking care of his mother. And you saw that he had to be the super responsible guy. He had to take care of her. He brought her breakfast, spent time with her, gave her medicine. And so to see him when he's with the Rangers being the one acting out, it kind of made sense. Like, this is he can let loose. Like, okay, I'm whatever. I'm with these people I don't know, doing these things, these cool things. And it really made sense that he would be a little reckless.
Yeah.
I like that. I think I like the Zach character.
Yeah, I did too.
Again, he also was a little I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but yeah, he didn't come away from this movie like, oh man, I can't wait to see more of Zach. You know what I mean?
I came away thinking that about Billy. That's how I thought.
Exactly. Yeah. Like he was still kind of a little underdeveloped, not as much as necessarily Trini, but
okay, let's talk about Kimberly, the Pink Ranger.
All right.
Naomi Scott. Which she gets probably focused on the most here besides, I think her and Billy may be focused on more than Jason.
Nah, Jason's focused on a good bit, especially near the end. But
okay. Well, it definitely was the Black and Yellow Rangers that got the short end of the sticks as far as development. But what'd you think of this? There's a subplot, definitely trying to be more modern, which here's another thing.
Yeah.
With things like the cell phones, okay, this takes place now.
Yeah.
There's a scene earlier at the beginning of the film where Jason looks in the trophy case, and it's like a whole shrine to him, right?
Yeah.
And the trophy says 1995. Which I'm thinking, okay, does this take place in the 90s? Then you see the iPhones and whatnot, and you're like, obviously it doesn't. So I don't know if that was just kind of a,
I don't know.
I don't know, miscue on their part.
Maybe it took place in the early 2010s, and this was like a Pee Wee trophy. I don't know.
I could. I mean, maybe.
know.
Who knows? But she gets in trouble over, let's just say, a photograph scandal.
Okay.
All right. So what do you think? Because it seems like you have something to say.
So listen, it's what it sounds like she did is it sounds like she had an maybe explicit nude photo of another student. Is what it sounded like.
A girl.
Right, and that she sent it out. Not only sent it out, but sent it out in a mean way, in a mean context.
Yeah.
And this is a very bad thing to do. You know what I mean? Like, this is a pretty bad thing. But she says, she's just bad and she doesn't know why. And this movie's kind of like a redemption story for her. And that's cool. Like, I'm okay with that. She wants a second chance. She's trying to find a better purpose to be a better person. Cool. What she did was horrible, but this is her story, so we can like her and that kind of stuff. The thing that bugged me, though, was there's two different scenes where former friends of hers, one the girl who she sent the photo of, and I guess another friend of hers, where she kind of like gets revenge on them being mean to her in a way. Like, there's a scene where, like, they make all the food explode, and the food gets all over them. And then there's a scene where some of Goldar's goop falls onto her car and stuff. And it's like, wait, why is this friend the bad person? Like, this friend was mean to Kimberly, but Kimberly did something awful. Like, that really was just like, once you find out what Kimberly does, it's like, this other person's not a villain anymore.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't understand why the film showed these moments of, like, Kimberly getting revenge on them, incidentally, but Kimberly was still happy. Oh, they were mean to me. Now I did. It's like, no, like, I wish they would have made up at the end of the film.
Yeah.
But they were never played as anything other than like these mean girls, and it was just really didn't make sense once you know what was really going on. And so the character Kimberly's cool, but that story part of her, it's really odd. It doesn't really make sense.
She was really good.
Yeah, actress was good. Yeah, and I liked a character Kimberly. I think. In the original Power Rangers, at some point, Kimberly's parents go through a divorce.
Yeah.
And there are a couple episodes here or there where, maybe Kimberly, who seems like the perfect kind of teenage girl, everything's going right before her, there's implications that maybe things aren't going perfect in her world. And so I liked this Kimberly that was a little more, had some, rough things going on, obviously, and was acting out because of it. So.
All right, let's talk about Rita.
Rita Repulsa.
Elizabeth Banks, Rita Repulsa. At one point, a Green Ranger, a Power Ranger who betrayed Zordon. So I thought that was interesting that she was actually a Ranger.
Yeah, that was cool.
So
she was almost like what Tommy could have been if he was actually evil. And not under Rita's spell.
Exactly.
In the original series.
Elizabeth Banks, I thought she was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Rita was cool.
Oh, again, none of the acting was the problem to me. There wasn't anybody I saw, like, I rolled my eyes, this is awful, this is terrible.
Right.
I mean, I think that in some of the Transformers movies. I never thought that here. And she chewed a lot of scenery. I'll go back to that again. I thought aesthetically she looked good, not just because she looked good, but I'm talking about the actual look of her outfit being green and her staff. Like, it made sense within the context of things, right? Mm-hmm. At first you see that and I was like, oh, she looks like Poison Ivy or something.
She reminded me of the in the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie that gives the Power Rangers their ninja powers. Delcia. She reminded me of Delcia a lot in costume design when I first saw it.
But the costume within context of the film makes sense.
Yeah.
She's really good.
Yeah, she's cool.
She may be the strongest part of this film.
Well, see, the problem is that I have with her is her. She's a villain no bit beyond the fact that she's evil and wants to control things. Like, she's not really fleshed out. Like, she was a former Ranger, and it's implied, I guess, that she used to be partners maybe with Zordon, and that's all interesting, but it's really never touched upon. And then she really just becomes a generic villain. Her design is cool, though. Like, the acting's great. The scene she's in, she's really cool. So that kind of makes up for it a bit. But her character never really develops beyond just, I'm evil, and I want to have power. You know what I mean?
Yeah. She is definitely, I don't want to say she's a one-note villain, but it's a generic story.
Yeah.
Which
is kind of part of the course of the superhero films.
Yeah, absolutely. And this did feel like a superhero film.
Yeah.
I will say that the whole Goldar thing.
Yeah.
Her plot, I read about it. Her gathering gold to create Goldar.
Yeah.
Sounded like the dumbest thing ever. When I was watching it, it really wasn't the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah, it was fun.
Talk about Goldar.
You gave her something to do. Goldar was a generic gold monster.
Didn't even speak.
No. I've said, and that was one of the biggest things when we first saw Goldar. That one of the biggest things I was like, oh my god, this is awful. You know what I mean? I've kind of gotten over it a sense because Goldar to me is like this fierce, cool warrior, the right hand man of Rita, and then later of Lord Zed.
He's Starscream,
right? Essentially,
yeah.
But I don't know where the films are going, and I was thinking like, okay, but if I was going to make a trilogy of films, and Goldar wasn't going to be an important character, who really cares what I do with him? Because even in the original show, he eventually gets to a point where he's a maid for Vulcan's skull. Yeah. Like he gets to a point in the show where he's not really done respectfully to the character, if you will. So it's like I don't really care.
Yeah, but he has some moments.
He's an important character, but like he's not that important that it's like you have to have Goldar for Power Rangers. It's like, okay, you have this monster and you made him out of gold and you called him Goldar. That's cool. Unfortunately, the design is just so generic CGI creature that it's just like, regardless of what his name is, it's that alone is disappointing. At least the Zeo Crystal didn't shoot a beam into space, or into the sky.
Thank God.
But like, still,
I kept waiting.
The design of Goldar was just very generic, especially like, even if even just having a big CGI creature is whatever. But he was all like just all gold. Like there's barely any
really
depth
didn't even
to
have
him.
a face.
Yeah, exactly. Like he was pretty.
I don't know. To me, it was a complete injustice. But this is from the perspective of an original Power Rangers fan, and
sure.
I gotta accept that this is a different take on the property.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
I would have preferred like a
flying monkey.
Yeah.
That's what Goldar is. Right. So
yeah.
I mean, think of the moments he has with fighting Jason in the Dark Dimension and almost killing him.
And we'll never get those moments.
And the moment where he gets the power coins.
Yeah.
And they have to call Green Ranger back in.
Yeah.
And some of the fights between Goldar and Tommy, especially right at the end when Tommy loses his Green Ranger powers, he has one final fight with Goldar where Tommy doesn't even have the powers.
Yeah.
And it's so good, so good. I just rewatched that episode not too long ago.
I almost said Zelda for some reason. Rita kind of took the place of that, I guess, kind of.
Oh.
Like she got in there and she
I like
fought.
that. That's what I meant to bring that up when we were talking about Rita. We actually got to see her be the main, antagonist.
And it was cool to see her kind of like own the Rangers a bit, especially in an earlier scene. She completely owned them, and she kind of reminded me of Lord Zed, kind of. You know what I mean? Because I think maybe once got his hands dirty, but he did get down there and he fought the White Ranger at one episode, and it was like wow, such an epic moment. And so it was cool to see.
That was epic.
It was cool to see her get down there and do some fighting and actually hold her own. She wasn't just like this witch who's casting spells, which was nothing wrong. I don't mind the original Rita character.
Would you like to have seen her grow and fight the Megazord?
That could have been cool.
I can't wait.
That could be cool.
No. Imagine this.
Okay.
No, how about they defeat Goldar, right?
Yeah.
He comes back. She goes inside of him. That sounds really weird, but...
That's what happens.
I mean, she literally goes inside of him and basically, like, Goldar's a Zord to her.
Yeah.
Imagine this. Goldar's defeated. She puts the Green Ranger suit on, and she grows as Green Ranger.
That'd be cool.
God, that would have been badass, dude.
She never did become the Green Ranger past that opening scene, did she?
No.
Yeah,
I wonder if she's able to.
Yeah, I wasn't sure.
She
Maybe
has the coin.
Maybe she's disconnected from the morphing grid. I
True.
don't know.
The coin's in her staff, right?
One of the things that I think that would have been cool for another criticism of the movie that I have.
They didn't use morphers.
What do you mean?
Like, so have you seen the toy morphers? Like, they're marketing toy morphers. They look cool.
Yeah.
They not once used power morphers in this.
They had them on their belts.
Did they?
Yeah, they were on their belts. There was... I don't know if they're exactly what the toys look like. I haven't seen them. But they had, like, the belt buckle morpher thing going on.
Okay.
But that final fight between Goldar and the Megazord, when we get the Megazord, or the Mamazord, as Billy calls it at one point, which was funny.
That was funny, yeah.
It was so slow. Like they,
you know what it reminded me of?
It was slower than the old, like Japanese, like people in suits. Like that was a more interesting. Yeah, that was a more interesting thing to me. like the old Zord battles, the old Megazord battles. This was like they were like moving so slow. I would have loved to see Zord or Rita get large and fight because it might.
I thought I was gonna hate the look of the Zords when I saw the toys. I did, but seeing the Zords in person and even the Megazord, the design was fine.
I can't agree with you on Megazord. Megazord almost felt like Goldar to me, where it was just so like generic and uninteresting looking. The Zords were cool.
But you know what the scene reminded me of? That whole end scene. It was so weird because it felt like it was rushed.
Yeah.
But it also felt like it dragged at the same time. I know that's kind of being very, hypocritical, but it reminded me almost of the pod race scene in episode 1. You see it and you're like, this is pretty cool. Yeah. And 10 minutes later,
you're like,
when's
what?
This gonna end,
The pacing of this movie reminded me of the pacing of the recent Fantastic Four movie.
That wasn't that bad.
It wasn't quite that bad, but like it was a lot of build up, and pretty interesting build up. And then it's like, oh, we have powers now, like we have powers now in Power Rangers, and it's like, okay, now cue end fight scene. Now the ending fight scene there was a little bit more going on, and it was a little more interesting. Was
this the morpher they had on their belts?
I don't remember. You can look up a picture of them.
Okay, I'll have to look that up, but
I don't remember at any point seeing like the actual coins. They have like red discs and stuff in stone. But I don't at any point remember actually seeing like coins, like the Tyrannosaurus coin.
I did like how the Megazord used the wings of the pterodactyl as two swords.
Yeah.
I thought that was badass. I prefer the power sword, of course.
Yeah. And then being their own pods was interesting.
I didn't like that at all.
It was interesting. I didn't even care for it, but it was interesting at least. I didn't like, if I recall correctly, from the old Megazord and this one, where, and this is such a fanboy complaint, but where the Zords connected was different. Like in this one, it was a Triceratops and the Mastodon that were the legs. Whereas in the original series, it's the blue and yellow. And this one, like, Trini's controlling an arm. And it was just, like, odd. And I'm like, no. Sabretooth, that's the leg.
When you say that it moves slow, do you mean the fight or the actual Megazord moves slow?
Both. Like, they were literally just, like... everything almost felt like... It didn't feel like slow motion. Just Goldar was moving slowly. And the
it
Zord
felt like
was
you adjusted
slowly.
The sensitivity on your controller.
Yeah, almost stiff, for sure.
Exactly. And here's the thing, is that's all CG, right?
Yeah.
And you think of the original show, we don't like to think about it, but those are people in suits in the Megazord and Dragonzord, and they can
I love to think about it, because I'd love to be in one of those suits.
Me too. They move a lot more fluid.
Yeah.
So
it was weird.
I didn't hate the design of the Megazord like I thought I would.
I didn't care for it.
Okay.
I never really cared for the...
And I mean, that's a preference kind of thing. I mean,
sure.
I don't love it, but...
To me, again, it was just plain. Like, you didn't really get the colored elements of the original Megazord. And it was just, I don't know. It wasn't interesting. It wasn't an interesting design. It was just generic, big robot thing.
Speaking of robots, what did you think of Alpha 5?
Alpha was fine.
He was fine.
The first trailer, I was like, oh, I'm not sure how I feel about this. And the design is still kind of like...
He kind of looks more lost in space to me.
Yeah. He was fine. He was kind of funny. He was quirky.
Bill Hader did a good job voicing him. I mean, I knew it was Bill Hader, but not like blatantly.
Not take you out of the movie, yeah.
Exactly. And he said I one time.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. The pacing, though.
Well, it's pacing and taking you out of the film is a good place good way to go.
I know where you're going.
There's two things and two specific scenes that really like. I was like, cool, but why?
When the Sword of Darkness shows up.
No. There's a fighting montage during the film where they're training before they've gotten their suits and they're learning how to fight putties and this and that. And I'm not getting where you think I'm going with this, but Kimberly and Trini are sitting in Krispy Kreme, and they're fighting over the last bite of a donut, and they're flipping and flighting a fork.
Which is very reminiscent of a scene from Kung Fu Panda. But
it just didn't seem to fit. It's just like, I don't mind product placement in movies, but this definitely felt like, we're at Krispy Kreme, we're fighting over a donut. It was just odd. And then, too, when the Power Rangers and the Zords first come out...
Go, Power Rangers!
And it's like, oh, that's so cool. And it just feels completely out of place.
No, but it's like, so cool, and then it stops.
It immediately stops.
It feels like somebody did a terrible job editing where to stop the song.
Yeah.
And If you're gonna,
it almost feels like a fan took that scene, the visual scene from the movie, and added their own
on YouTube.
Yeah, on YouTube, added their own music to that clip. Like, wouldn't it have been cool if they did this? And like, it was cool in and of itself, but in that scene, it was just like it was jarring.
It didn't match the rest of the movie.
Absolutely not.
If you're gonna go there, just
there.
use their original song too.
Just go there.
Yeah,
if you're gonna go there, go there. Like,
yeah, but
I don't know.
You talked about Krispy Kreme.
Krispy Kreme.
Let's get to the big glazed donut here.
There's product placement, and then there's Krispy Kreme and Power Rangers.
Good product placement is this: Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Marty McFly rides by on a skateboard at Burger King.
Yeah.
Subtle.
Yeah.
We know it's there.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Even
he drinks a Pepsi in the diner.
Yeah.
Here's a modern good product placement.
Yeah.
Tony Stark, Iron Man.
Yeah.
Comes back, wants a hamburger.
Yeah.
Eats a Burger King burger.
Yeah.
Very subtle. It's there. We know it's there.
Even something that's not necessarily subtle but still good is like Bumblebee. And a lot of those Transformers, those are the actual cars, and you see the logos, and it's like, but it works. Like,
Speaking of Bumblebee,
it's not like they're like, oh, you know, it's not like they call him Chevrolet Bumblebee or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just he is a Chevrolet, or I think in the first movie there was a soda machine that was like Mountain Dew branded or something that turned into like cool, fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Brands exist, and seeing the actual brands in the movie adds realism to it. But then there's Krispy Kreme in Power Rangers.
Real quick, the scene I was referencing, we're going to talk about Krispy Kreme.
Yeah.
I love Krispy Kreme. Not here, but I love Krispy
Yeah.
Kreme. But there's a scene where the Megazord steps on a Camaro that looks just like Bumblebee. And you're like, a little Transformer shot.
Yeah.
Then Jason literally says, sorry, Bumblebee.
Yeah. And
that
it's
took
like,
me out of it.
Yeah.
Like, you had the joke. It was
Yeah.
there, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to... It's basically like almost telling us to laugh at
It's
your
like
joke.
winking at the camera. Get it? Get it, guys?
Yeah.
Look what we're doing.
Yeah. Okay, but back to Krispy Kreme.
Krispy Kreme.
Which is a southern company. We have them all over the South.
Not all over. I have to drive like half an hour or more probably to get a Krispy Kreme donut if I wanted to go to a store. The grocery store has them, but if you want to get the hot and fresh Krispy Kreme donut, oh my goodness, now I want some Krispy Kreme. I'm getting hungry.
Yeah. But Krispy Kreme was mentioned at least a dozen times.
It was.
I was about to say 10 times, but let's say it was a hot dozen.
It was a baker's dozen.
Yeah, it was like a dozen times it felt like.
Not there, Goldar, the Krispy Kreme.
Yeah, the Zeo Crystal was literally under
a Krispy Kreme. Again, fine, but they said it like so many times. And in the middle of that final fight, like while the Goldar is fighting the Megazord and stuff, Rita stops, goes into Krispy Kreme, and is in there eating a donut.
Okay. See, I like that scene in the movie that has the Go-Go Power Rangers.
Yeah.
But again, doesn't fit this movie.
No.
Right? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
now?
it was so odd.
Yeah.
Like,
if in a more cheesy, like, hammy movie, absolutely. Go there. Here, don't go there.
Yeah. They just said it so many times that it was unusual. Like, I'm fine with the Krispy Kreme. A Krispy Kreme exists in this town, and it, you know, and the Zeo Crystal's under there. But, like, they said it so many times that it was just odd. The Krispy Kreme. Get to the Krispy Kreme, the Krispy Kreme, the Krispy Kreme. And it's like, oh my, like, near the end, it's like they were saying Krispy Kreme, like, every other minute.
Yeah. So, speaking of someone who eats a lot of Krispy Kreme, Zordon.
Does he like Krispy Kreme?
That was a forced segue there, but let's
talk. Not even a segue.
Let's talk about the floating head here.
Yeah.
Zordon, who looks.
He wasn't a floating head. He was a face on a wall.
He looks like one of those toys you would get where you would push your hand in it, like in the 90s or whatever.
Those pin toys. Yeah, you make the impressions on it. Good
exactly. But Bryan Cranston, big name, A-list actor.
Yep.
Who actually, as you know, voiced some monsters on the original Power Rangers show.
The lizard guy and such.
That was cool to see him come back. And, man, I thought he was great.
Yeah.
Did I expect Zordon to do too much? No, he had a chance to come back to life. He saved Billy instead.
How noble of him.
I don't know why Billy died in the first place.
Yeah, that was such a dumb plot point.
As they carried him across like Jesus.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, okay, did y'all bring in Zack Snyder to direct this scene right here? I just kept waiting for, Jason to be like, let me put the red suit over him as we carry him back to not a command center either. spaceship.
Effectively command center.
I want to see a command center, man.
Yeah,
I really want to see a command center. No communicators.
No, that bugged me a little bit.
No morphers.
That's one of the things near the end is like there's no real communication with Zordon and Alpha. It's all them working on their own, which is fine. I would expect a little bit more. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Something about that last scene that bugged me, going back to it real quick, that final fight scene. We've seen a lot of superhero films. It's a common trope now, and it's understandable with these big name actors is their masks come off all the time.
I know where you're going.
The same thing happened in this, but like when they got in the Zords, their face shields basically went away, and it's like, one, why, and two,
this isn't
why?
Like, Robert Downey Jr. We don't need that.
We don't know the actors. You know what I mean? No offense to them, but like we don't need to see their faces. We don't know who they are. And two, it's like, I guess it makes sense that when you're fighting hand to hand, you need that face helmet or something. But the helmets seem like they're almost vehicle type helmets.
The only actor we needed to see their face, he was just a face.
Yeah,
Bryan Cranston.
But like just when they were in the Zords, that almost feels like the time you'd want those visors or something. You know what I mean?
Sure, I'm gonna wear my motorcycle helmet until I start riding my motorcycle.
Exactly. Like it was just kind of odd.
I'm a South Carolinian. Okay. They don't have to wear motorcycle helmets there. You know that, right?
That's a plan by North Carolina.
Yeah. But man, I don't know. I can't wait to get to the final rating on this. Not because I want this show to be over. I just want to see, where you fall on it. But
I can't wait to find out myself where I fall on it.
Let's talk about some of the Easter eggs and some of the more fun stuff.
I missed basically all of them. They all had to be pointed out to me.
I noticed, and maybe it's something I look at every day because I still have the Power Rangers on display back there. But I saw a Finster and a squat action figure, like the original one that was in the workshop in Billy's.
Are they similar to the ones you have here?
It's the exact same one.
Oh, okay.
And then behind Trini at her house was a Putty action figure from the original line.
Okay.
And then, of course, we have the big one at the end. Yeah. They should have had a Goldar action figure, first of all. But anyway. Kimberly Hart and Tommy Oliver, Jason David Frank,
and Amy Jo Johnson.
They're there wearing pink, wearing green, with their camera phones.
I totally missed them.
You missed it. I mean, their jaws like wide open. Like,
I can't wait to go back and watch that scene because I have to now. I can't wait to go back and watch that scene and see how obvious it was that they were there.
Obvious.
Because, like, again, when we were watching that scene, all I could think about was, like, this town is half destroyed, and why are all these people taking pictures? I understand why some people are, but it's almost like the entire town, like people climbing out of rubble with their phones out to take a picture of the Megazord is what it feels like. Like, you guys, there's stuff to do. There's people to help. Why are you guys standing around, like, taking selfies?
You know what really took me out of it was Austin St. John flipping the bird to the Rangers in the background. What's Austin St. John thinking? Because he was at all the original Rangers went to the red carpet premiere.
David Yost.
Let's see, Austin St. John, Amy Jo Johnson,
David Yost,
Walter Jones. Obviously, Thigh Train. She passed away in a car crash, I guess, in late 90s or early 2000s.
Something like that.
So she hadn't been with us in a while. However, how crappy do you think Austin St. John felt watching this at the premiere when Zordon's telling him, "You are the Red Ranger. You are the leader."
Probably not as crappy as he felt when they wrote him and Trini and Zach off the show and like they weren't even in the final 5 episodes.
So noticeable too.
Right. Well, see, so noticeable again as an adult. When I was a kid, I had no idea, and I heard about it later. I was like, "What? They weren't there?" And I go back and watch as an adult. I'm like, "Wow, this is super obvious."
But imagine how Jason feels in the show.
I don't know. There's been a bunch of Red Rangers. I don't think.
Think about this though. So remember when Tommy loses his power, and all of a sudden the shield and the dagger go to Jason, which looks cool.
Yeah,
but he's like, "Oh!" Like that was the sound he made.
Okay,
because I watched this not too long ago, and Tommy's dying on the ground, going, "Oh God!" And he's there just infused with power, like, "Ah!"
I want to watch a Power Rangers episode where you've overdubbed all the different characters. Okay. Oh God!
Wow. Okay, but we go 360 on this because when White Ranger shows up, he descends from the heavens.
180 or 360?
Would it be a 180?
Okay, just checking.
Okay, 180, whatever. All right. So, yeah, because we don't go full circle.
Okay.
You're right, it'd be a 180. So we do a 180 on this
Yeah.
with the White Ranger. So
Yeah.
as you see him descend from the heavens,
Yep.
as you have a Casio keyboard
Zack
playing.
Snyder also directed that.
Yeah.
shot.
And then all of a sudden, here comes White Ranger as Tommy. Kimberly faints.
Yeah.
You are the
As you
new
do.
leader of the Power
Exactly.
Rangers.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Jason's like, what?
Yeah. Jason's still on the show, and it's like Tommy's leader now. It's like, what?
What's he done bad? I've saved Angel Grove like 15 million times.
Yeah, Jason got a rough end. Rocky was even worse. Who was Rocky?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? But
I'm trying to think, is there anything else we want to say about this other than the biggest problem that plagues this movie is the pacing.
Pacing and just the genericness of it after a point. The whole movie's kind of generic superhero, and it feels like, and this isn't necessarily a bad thing, but you definitely notice it feels like a lot of different superhero movies mixed together. Like there's a lot of Spider-Man elements to it.
Chronicle.
There's some Chronicle. There's actually like I think some. They kind of treat the power coins, almost like a Green Lantern type thing, where they've been selected. You know what I mean? And again, not necessarily a bad thing. It was just kind of interesting. It's kind of feels like this hodgepodge, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't.
Let's talk about this mid-credits scene here. Yeah. Kind of expected it.
Yeah.
The way they did it, I guess, was somewhat clever, considering the actor's not cast, but they're doing roll call and detention and...
Attention, detention?
Tommy Oliver. Teacher said.
Yeah.
Tommy Oliver.
Now,
what I've this would have been better. Like Rita, discovers the Sword of Darkness at her moon base.
You loving that Sword of
Darkness? I love the Sword of Darkness, dude. I'm waiting for them to do the. I haven't bought any of the legacy, like the Dragon Dagger or anything. Cause it's like I have the original in the box.
Yeah.
Like that's all I need.
Yeah, sure.
But something like the Sword of Darkness, they never released.
Yeah.
They do. I'm getting it. They're just releasing Jason's Power Sword.
That's cool.
And it is
How
cool.
big is that?
It's pretty damn big.
Yeah.
He's a Red Ranger. He's a leader. What do you think?
Yeah.
But no, I mean, but it's like $150.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's prop size.
Yeah.
So I think that would be
cool.
Pretty cool. Yeah. You know, one thing I thought walking away from this. We'll get back to the Tommy.
You probably thought, where did I park my car?
No.
Okay.
I thought they took this pretty serious.
Yeah.
I think we can agree with that. Maybe too serious.
Sure.
But
I feel like it may have almost been... It doesn't feel like... This was definitely done with an idea of turning it into a franchise, which Power Rangers still is a franchise.
Yeah.
But it almost felt, kind of in the way that the Marvel films can feel sometimes, where it's like, this is cool, but this is a studio-made film.
Couldn't you see the sequel being, like, really good?
I could see a sequel being really cool.
Yeah, because no sit-up. We're a little bit further progressed in this world.
Yeah.
Green Ranger, first of all.
Green Ranger, I think Rita alluded to possibly Lord Zed, maybe Master Vile. Because she said there's other people that, you think I'm the only one that wants this, you know what I mean? She kind of alluded to bigger, badder people being out there.
King Sphinx
would be cool. They go to Egypt in the next one.
I just ordered at eBay the original. I have all the original line.
Yeah.
Which are I took good care of my Power Rangers toys. They're a little older. My Ninja Turtles, I chewed the bandanas off. But that's a different story. For a different podcast. But I ordered a vintage King Sphinx for $15, best offer.
That's cool.
Which was like, they're usually 40. So
yeah.
I thought that was pretty good. Still in the box.
That's cool.
Yeah, very cool. But she did allude to other people.
I liked at the end when she floated off into space, how she kind of floated almost towards the moon a little bit.
She floated like a turd, which this movie was. I'm just kidding. We'll get to rating in a minute. We said we were going to bring up, we're kind of everywhere here, but we're going to bring up Zeo Crystal.
Zeo Crystals.
When you heard that, you're like, oh my god, they're actually establishing this universe, and they're going to make references to stuff.
And it's cool because Zeo Crystal was one of the first times, not the first time, they did it well. Zeo Crystal in the original series is done well. Well, just the fact that, like, in season 3, Master Vile shows up, and he's after this thing called the Zeo Crystals, and it seems like...
Turns them into kids, right?
No. This is before. This is earlier in the season. Master Vile shows up because I want the Zeo Crystal, and they have this fight over the Zeo Crystal, and the Zeo Crystal just seems like one of those generic... this is the item, this is the MacGuffin item this week. The bad guys want it, the good guys take it, and they break it apart and throw it all over the world.
It means so
Done.
much more.
And then later on, it's like it comes up again. Like, whoa, this Eo crystal, that's a thing from Earth. You know what I mean? It was set up so early and done very well in that third season in a way that
the third
Power Rangers
season
doesn't
of
necessarily
Power
do.
Rangers is probably the best as far as overarching plot.
Well, there's definitely a lot of to be continued episodes.
Well, I
It's
mean,
a lot
you think
less
about how that
episodic
third season ends. They capture the Valkenzor.
Yeah.
They capture Ninjor. Remember, they actually have Ninjor.
Well, the end of the third season, Ninja was already free, I believe, by that point.
No, I'm talking about during
right.
toward the middle, towards the end.
Sure. Yeah.
And then you get the whole showdown with Tommy and Zed.
Yeah.
I mean, it is like kind of the bad guys have won. Like, it really leads to a pretty good climactic place for a 90s kids TV
There was
show.
that scene where the villains take over the juice bar. And there's a bunch of
forgot about
monsters
that.
like dancing, and Bulk and Skull are there having.
I gotta watch that again, but
Bulk and Skull.
not here.
Not in the movie.
Instead, a terrible bully who
Ron Weasley's evil twin brother
who wants to literally break Billy's wrist.
That was really weird.
I mean,
he just shows up. Where's your bodyguard? I'm going to break your wrist. Like, who is this?
I'm
guy?
a high school
Weirdo.
teacher.
That was Michael Myers. That was Michael Myers as a teen.
I am a high school teacher, and I mean, come on, breaking somebody's wrist, come on.
And he just showed up. It's like, I'm going to break your wrist. Like, it was just odd.
That
was
was
like, you're a
odd. That
freak.
felt very out of place. So,
Miss Bulk and Skull, again, is one of those characters where I love Bulk and Skull from the original series. Love them. But if they're not going to do them right, or if they're not going to do anything interesting with them, why bother? So I'm fine with them being omitted.
I would have
from
been
this.
pissed if they'd have been like, his name is Bulk. That guy who was going to break his
Yeah.
wrist. How dumb would that have been?
Yeah, it would have
Been really dumb. So, is there anything else we want to say about this movie? Or have we covered pretty much all the bases? Let's just talk about Tommy Oliver real quick. They end with that, right?
Yep.
Completely set that up for a sequel. I have two questions. One is, do you think there'll be a sequel? The second is, what do you want to see? Now, let me just set this first question up.
Okay, so good.
It's made $40 million. I'm sorry, it's expected to make $40 million. This is Saturday. Mm-hmm. Who knows what the second weekend is going to be? That being said, Beauty and the Beast is going to make 80, double in a second weekend.
Sure.
I don't know what Lionsgate was expecting to make. Now, Lionsgate's a smaller studio. It's not Disney, right?
Right.
So, do you think there'll be a sequel?
I don't know what the production budget for this thing is, so it's hard to base off of that.
Up real quick.
I mean, $40 million is not bad for, especially this March. We've seen a lot of movies doing very well.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's because it's just good movies coming out or what. I haven't really looked too much into it.
Well, apparently they have an outline, a 6-movie outline.
I heard that too. That's kind of crazy. If it continues to do well, I expected to. I don't know what I expected. Our theater wasn't dead, but like there wasn't a lot of people.
Slammed either.
It definitely wasn't. The
budget here is $100 million.
So maybe, and
it's made 40
domestically.
40 domestically. That's the estimate this weekend.
So and has it opened overseas yet?
I have no idea.
So I mean, it's kind of hard to tell so far. I could definitely see them making a sequel just based. Well, I mean, obviously I could see them making a sequel, but like if it does well, I can see them doing a sequel easily because that's what this movie was set up for. And it wasn't, even though it's getting mixed reviews.
This isn't going to do Fantastic Four bad.
No.
It's not.
It's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna bomb. I really don't. I think they'll make their money back and then some.
Absolutely. I hope so. So if you had to bet one way or another, you had to bet $100, there is
or $100 million.
Yeah, there is going to be a sequel.
I think so. Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Probably be 2-3 years from now. But would you be excited for the sequel? I would.
It depends on what
it's Green Ranger.
Yeah.
It's got to be, right?
I mean, I'm excited right now in general, in a curiosity excited way. Like, I can't wait to see what they're gonna do. If they didn't make a sequel, it wouldn't crush me. I wouldn't really care.
It wouldn't be like if they said right now we're canceling Avengers Infinity War.
Right.
Like, I'd be like, oh my God, you built for this, a decade. Yeah. Like, that would crush my soul.
But I really wouldn't care if they canceled the sequel.
Now, had this movie have been like Batman Begins good, and they canceled the sequel, I think I would be upset.
Yeah.
What do you want to see in the sequel? You just want to see Tommy Oliver kicking ass as the evil Green Ranger?
Yeah, I want to see Tommy Oliver. I want to see...
What if he's not evil? What if he just becomes the 6th Ranger?
That's dumb.
I agree. But that's two people speaking of the original show.
I don't know why they would do that. That just seems silly. They'd be like making Goldar a good guy in this one. Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
And especially, they've already set up Rita as the evil Green Ranger, so it makes sense that she's, for whatever reason, she's not going to be the Green Ranger. She wants to set up somebody else. I think maybe, just off the the wall, I think maybe Lord Zed shows up, gets her green crystal somehow, and maybe he makes Tommy.
That would be a good twist.
It'd be interesting.
Zed would be scary as shit in this thing.
Yeah.
Because think about, he was kind of scary as a kid when he first appeared, right?
Yeah.
Before he got more silly. And then Rita, she's not, she's kind of scary looking at points, especially early on.
I would love to see in a sequel. I hope they have the Zeo Crystal now in this one. And my hope is that they hide the Zeo Crystal under a Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
I would just...
In all seriousness, though, we want Green Ranger.
Yeah.
You could have one monster show up besides Green Ranger.
Yeah.
Not counting him as a monster. Who do you want?
Man, I have no idea. That's a good one.
My first one would be like the real Goldar, but let's assume that's not going to happen.
Maybe, Scorpina would be cool.
Scorpina would be really cool.
But again, I thought you meant more like monster of the day type monster.
Yeah. The Pudgy Pig. Nah, I'm just joking.
Pudgy Pig.
Who I would like to see?
This is why I like the opening to be maybe them. They've been Power Rangers for a little while, and they defeated it's them beating up the Pudgy Pig or something. I don't know.
I got something really good. This is what I want to see. I want to see them flash back to that. Maybe not necessarily that scene.
Yeah.
But maybe right after that, or in that era of the original Rangers, right?
Yeah.
And they're fighting the Nasty Knight. Remember the Nasty Knight?
Yeah,
and he has the Sword of Darkness.
Okay.
And somehow you use that to tie it into the Green Ranger.
Yeah.
And think about that.
So you have to...
It has to have the Sword of Darkness.
If they don't have the Sword of Darkness,
I will shit my pants.
You will not shit your pants. I hope that doesn't happen. I'll probably sit next to you.
No, I'll shit my pants if it happens.
Oh, hopefully that doesn't happen either.
If it doesn't happen, I will write several complaints to Haim Saban, who doesn't care about anybody but himself.
He cares about the kids.
Yeah, the kids.
He's very protective of this franchise. There were some things in this that I was surprised that they were allowed to do with Power Rangers.
Like when it comes to podcasts, there's a lot of Power Rangers podcasts the past couple of years. Some really good ones. My favorite is Teenagers with Attitude, but
it's all 50-year-old men on there.
It's on the Audio Entropy Network's really good Power Rangers rewatch podcast. I've been trying to get you to listen for a while, but anytime they try to use copyrighted songs or anything, Saban goes after them.
Oh, okay.
Cease and desist. Whereas I don't know how Disney is, but there's obviously a crap ton of Star Wars podcasts.
Yeah.
And when Lucasfilm was just Lucasfilm, not bought out by Disney, George Lucas was so open to wanting the fans to use the stuff and talk about it. He loved... For all the fan hate for George Lucas, Lucas loved the fans. And he loved that they're talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
And they never pursued, a podcast could literally be playing the opening theme as their theme song.
Yeah.
They wouldn't pursue it.
Interesting.
Which is, I don't know if I'd say that's cool, but I like how Lucas viewed that.
I watched a video recently of a playthrough of the board game Star Wars Rebellion because I'm a nerd and I use my time wisely. And interspersed within this playthrough were scenes from the original trilogy, just kind of
that's cool.
Scenes of the stormtroopers fighting the rebels or something. And I was like, oh man, how did this video not get flagged or something at some point? You know what I mean? Yeah. Not only do they use sound effects, they're using actual scenes. From what I
understand, Disney has really kind of just stuck with how Lucas was.
That's good.
Which is cool.
I just meant protective as far as Saban and the Power Rangers. I just meant he's trying to keep it very kid friendly. He doesn't like a mature Power Ranger.
This came right to that line, right? And it didn't quite cross it. I'd like to see it cross it with the Green Ranger, but
I don't know. I don't necessarily.
You know what? Have you have right? You went back and you've at least watched scenes of the Super Sentai.
I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
I almost bought the original series on Amazon. It was
the one Mighty Morphin is based off of?
Yeah.
Caillou
Ranger. Zaya Ranger, I think. Or Zaya or Dia Ranger. One of the two.
Or it's Jew Ranger, I think is how it's pronounced.
Is it Gia Ranger? But it starts with a Z.
Yeah, but I think it's pronounced Jew Ranger or something like that.
Gia Ranger, I think.
I think it's Jew. I don't know.
Jew Ranger.
I think that's what it's pronounced. I'm not sure. I don't speak Japanese.
Okay. Anyway,
spoilers.
I went and I've watched I just wanted to see the scenes like that were in the American context in their original form.
Right.
And like, oh my God, like it's like serious, like it's dark at points. Like Rita has a son.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know Cyclopsis, like the face that appears.
Yeah.
Like that's Rita's son controlling that.
Interesting.
In the original Super
Goldar
Sentai.
Zord or whatever you mean talking about?
Yeah.
You're talking about Lothar, the wizard guy?
No, I'm talking about Goldar Zord.
Right.
That's Cyclopsis, right?
Yeah.
The face thing. With
Lothar.
That's
the one with like the dreads almost.
Exactly, yeah. But no, not Lothar. The Cyclopsis, in the original series, it's not Goldar. It's Rita's son.
Interesting.
And, dude, the final episode of Super Sentai, I'm not going to spoil it.
He's really destroying all the Zords and stuff.
No, like, it's an ultimate showdown because, like, so they show Rita's palace.
Yeah.
And they look up, and Megazord is on the moon.
That's awesome.
Looking down at Rita's palace, and you're like,
how did they not use that footage? That's awesome.
I know!
That's
it
awesome.
was there. Like, holy, you know?
Yeah. Don't Goldar and Scorpina have a kid, too, in the Super Sentai? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Gryffindor is what they call him. Gryffindor.
He's a Harry Potter reference.
I don't know.
There was Harry Potter.
Yeah. I don't know what Scorpina was called, but I mean, that's something that I would like. I feel like I would buy it and watch like 3 episodes and never revisit it again.
Right, that's something I would stumble upon on YouTube and like, oh, this is interesting, but like, I don't plan on watching it.
But they're like, from what I understand, most seasons are like primetime serious TV.
Yeah, I love it over there.
Yeah,
they have a lot. They still do like remember Masked Rider over here?
Yeah.
They still do that over there. The stuff that VR Troopers is based off of is still. Actually, I'm not sure that one's going on. So did you know VR Troopers? I don't know. You watched VR Troopers a little bit. Did you watch Beetleborgs?
Yeah.
Same series.
Wow.
Kind of like how all these Power Rangers are different. What you call it?
Yeah.
That's the same series. And actually, VR Troopers, the Ryan character.
Ryan Steele.
And then the other 2 characters, 2 different seasons.
Yeah, that's why they had plots that would separate.
Yeah, you never see them together.
I did know that. I did know that. But there
Ryan
was
Steele, or whatever, the guy that played that. I think he was supposed to play the Gold Ranger in Zeo or something, but then he picked up VR or
and
something.
then they brought in Jason.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, the guy who played Jason, Austin St. John.
Yeah.
But the way I understand it is the only season that like wasn't geared toward adults as well was the season that had White Ranger. It was actually a kid who plays White Ranger.
Oh, the Super Sentai.
In the Super Sentai version. So the only footage they used from this one, which is almost kind of like a satire, which is not taken seriously, the only one they used was White Ranger footage. Like, they never actually used, as my mom calls me, not Zordon. They've never actually used the footage from that show.
For the other
White
Rangers,
Ranger.
right.
They say when White Ranger shows up, like, he's a kid, so when they put the American footage with Tommy first with the Tigers where he's, like, falling down and shit, it's like, oh, because he don't know how to use his powers. No, that's because he's like an 8-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And there's scenes where he, like, takes the Tiger Zord through, like, the streets of Tokyo or some shit, just destroying stuff. Which reminded me of the Black Ranger in this movie.
Well, it's kind of like season 3. They have like the Falcon Zord and the Shogun Zord, and that's from like completely other Power Rangers. And
Is
that's
the
where
Falcon Zord from another Super Sentai series, or was it an American creation?
The Falcon Zord is part of like because you see the Shogun Megazord and the Ninja Megazord. I think
that's the 3rd season.
Yeah, that's the Falcon Zord's a real thing. If you remember when the kids in the end of season 3, when the kids get shrunk, when the Power Rangers get shrunk into kids, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And then the Alien Rangers show up.
That's a different series,
right? The Alien Rangers are the ones who pilot the Falcon Zord and that kind of stuff because they have Zords that show up that are very similar to the Ninja Zords.
Okay.
So it's actually the same.
I thought
Sentai.
their Zords were the Shogun Zords. Are they?
No, they don't. They use the Shogun Zord as well. In the Sentai version, yeah.
Okay.
They have like 2 different types of Zords or whatever.
The Ninja Rangers.
Yeah, there's a Master Vile, Rita's dad, that comes down. He creates this monster that like sucks up part of Ninjor's powers or something like that. And he's
Sentai?
Well, in the Sentai and in the Power Rangers.
Yeah.
And at one point, like he sucks up Ninjor's power, and he had like parts of Ninjor are on him, and he looks Ninjor-esque. He also sucks up part of like the Shogun Megazord, and you see like these heads appear on him, and it's the Alien Rangers' heads. because in the Sentai, that's who he's fighting. But in the Power Rangers, it didn't quite make sense.
I need to just go watch the 3rd season.
It's weird.
Is Rito an American creation only?
Rito and Lord Zed, I believe, are both. Yeah, the
wonder
Tengu
who
Warriors might be as well.
Yeah. I wonder who Rita's mom was.
Rita's mom?
Rita's mom. Because Rita's the brother, Master Vile's the dad.
Yeah. Master Vile, he's from the Alien Ranger Super Sentai series.
Okay,
obviously he's no relation to Rita.
Well, maybe in the 6th or 5th movie, we'll find out who Rita's mother is. Rita, I am your mother. But on that note, let's go ahead and wrap up the 57th edition of the Confirmed Epic Podcast, a more phenomenal edition, and we're going to rate this. So, Andrew, do you want to go first?
No.
Okay. I'm going to give this my rating. I'm going to go good and a half. Good and a half. It was a lot more than I was expecting. I like the character development. It's a flaw and a blessing of this movie. I like the tone. Maybe a little too serious at times, but overall, I like the tone.
Mm-hmm.
I like the future of this franchise. Now, here's the problem. It kind of feels like Amazing Spider-Man to me, the first one. Like, I can't wait to see what comes next, even though I don't like this one so much. So I'm kind of wary of that. But to me, if they pull... I'm not willing to give up on this version of the characters until they just completely screw up the Green Ranger. At that point, I'm done.
So you're waiting for the second one to be done with the franchise?
Exactly. So if they have the Sword of Darkness and his shield, he must have some type of shield to differentiate him.
Absolutely.
Did Rita have a shield? Sword. No.
I didn't notice it.
And the Dragon Sword. Maybe that's what Zed would give him. But who knows? But I'll give it a good and a half. I left this movie not loving this movie, but really excited to where we're at.
Yeah.
What about you?
I'm probably going to give it an and a half.
Okay.
It was basically what I thought. There were cool moments, and there were moments where were cooler than I thought, were funnier, more charming than I thought. I enjoyed it. I would watch this movie again, but it wasn't really...
I'd watch the opening scene and fast forward to the end.
I'm not sure I could say it was good. I wouldn't go back and see it. I wouldn't go back to theaters to watch it. Again, if they never make another one in this franchise with these characters, I don't care. But if they do make another one, cool.
I do care because they set up Green Ranger, and I want to see that story on the big screen.
I don't care either way. I'm curious. I absolutely want to see it on the big screen, but again, this one didn't instill a lot of confidence in me that I'm gonna like what they do with it.
Closing question: this movie doesn't make any more money, really. This is a failure financially. Will we ever see a serious...
Speaking hypothetically here.
Hypothetically, yeah. Because I hope this isn't the case. I don't think it's going to be the case.
I want it to succeed, yeah. I like Power Rangers franchise.
Is this the end of this trying to get it on the big screen? Or you think they'll try again eventually in our lifetime?
Maybe eventually. I mean, I have no idea what... Who's to say what the market is in 30 years?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Exactly. Maybe they could do another big screen of the canon, you know what I mean? One of these one of the new series, it becomes huge, and it's oh wow, it's got popular, really popular again. Let's do another movie. Who knows what's gonna happen? But
let me ask you this: do you like this movie better than the original Power Rangers movie?
Objectively, I can't say one is better or worse. This one actually might be better.
I think this one's better.
This one's probably better.
It doesn't have Boar the Pig.
I think I like the first one better, just from a nostalgia point of view. Yeah. I have rose-colored glasses for this. But this is better than that one was.
Okay, so you're and a half. I'm good and a half. So we're a little bit off there, but we didn't completely hate the movie either. Yeah. So for the 57th edition, that's going to wrap us up. Andrew, where can people find more of you?
You can follow me on Twitter at aka Andrew Stokes, where I meant to tweet that we were even doing this podcast, and I didn't. So I'm not going to fill up your Twitter feed with literally anything, because I never tweet. So, don't even bother. I don't care.
You can find me on dgww.com, Geeks Worldwide, where this show is still a part of their podcast network, as well as technodrometales.com and the Technodrome Tales podcast, which is a 1987 TMNT rewatch podcast. Find me on Twitter at The Real Brad Bell, DREEL Brad Bell. Find this show and old shows at thepicreview.com. Be sure to check out every day what Barbecue 17 Jerry Reed's posting at actionfigurebarbecue.com. Andrew, anything else you want to say?
Go Power Rangers.
And with that, from the Hollywood foothills of North Carolina, we are...